Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for making the time to be here. And today we're just going to be talking about two great new products, which is the new HearLink 50 miniBTE rechargeable and the new DemoFlex. So, as everyone knows, the good thing with Philips is our communication is simple and directed to the user. And basically, at Philips, our goal is really simple. We want to make sure that it's easier for you to take care of your client's hearing health. And I'm really excited to introduce to you something new today. And that would be the new miniBTE TR. So it's really a great addition to the HearLink 50 family. And as you can see on this slide, the HearLink 50 family now offers, I would say, all of the more popular styles to meet all of the hearing needs. So there's definitely a good choice for every client. So as you can see with HearLink 50, we can be confident that with the second generation AI-powered sound, we are getting not only new products, but also the latest technology when it comes to AI. So here are some of the highlights, and just to give you an overview with this new product. First, we have the Sound Map 3 with Sound Guide, which basically allows the hearing aid to sense the head and body movements and then adjust the sound based on what the user is doing. And all of this is just to make the speech clearer, even in noisy places. And then next, this is new. So we have leveled up from Sound Type 3 to Sound Type 4, and this is our best connectivity package so far. So the new features for Sound Type 4 include the Fast Pair for Android devices, and of course, Auracast. And we also have a new stylish design in a very small BTE style with 7 colors to choose from and the 4 technology levels that you see right there. So we also have, of course, a brighter LED to show if there's the battery status and the charging status, so it's easier for those with eye issues. And the users can, of course, also easily answer or end the phone call by simply double tapping the hearing aid or the ear. You can also do that. And of course, the newest thing that we have with HearLink 50, and that also includes the mini, right? Of course, is that we finally have the faster charging contact, where we use contact charging that gives your user 1 hour, a full day of use by just charging it for 1 hour. And these are the 7 tried and tested colors, which are designed to either blend naturally with the hair or with the user's skin. Or like the silver or gray color, you can see that it is more designed to look like a high-tech wearable technology. So the Philips HearLink 50 miniBTE R, basically this is the best, this is the highlight of this new product. And that is to give you 2 fitting levels, which is 85 and 105 in one compact style. So this means that you as a clinician, you have definitely more flexibility and more options for your clients. And whether they need moderate amplification or extra power, this device can definitely handle it. And the best part is you can just access this innovation by going to the software and changing the fitting levels. So I will explain more about how that works later on. As for now, let's just quickly look inside the device. So the size is just slightly bigger than the mini, right? I think I have some hearing aids here, and it might be tricky to see it here in the camera, but I have them right here. So it's really not so different when it comes to the size. This mini BTE R is just slightly fatter and a few millimeters taller. It's around 1.7 millimeters taller. So if we look inside the device, you would see that you have the hook, you have the speaker, that's what it looks like. You have the size 13 lithium-ion battery, double push button, which is a big difference from the miniBTE of HearLink 30 and 40. And this is where you would find the chipset right here. Let me just make sure you guys can see it. There we go. So that's the chipset. And it also has telecoil. So if that is relevant for your market, just know that it is available. First, let's just talk about the hook, okay? So if we look at the hook, you can see that the Philips HearLink 50 miniBTE R can give you the flexibility of either an ear hook or a more discreet mini fit thin tube, which is available in 0.9 and 1.3 millimeters. So if we're going to talk about the ear hook, as you can see here, basically it comes with a damper, and it's kind of like this white filter. And for the HearLink 50, 40, and 30, they basically use the same ear hook. And this is really important, so make sure that when you are talking about the ear hook with their dampers, that you don't mix them. Because if we look here, the Philips HearLink 50 and 40 and 30 ear hook has a damper located here, whereas for the older Philips BTE instruments, the ear hooks are actually different. One way of knowing that they are different is that the damper is found here, more in the middle. So it's more for the older BTE plus power designs. And one important thing you should know is that the reason why it's also important to not mix them is because the new ear hook provides an additional 3 dB of power. So if you're using the older one, what happens is the output that you get is way softer, or it's softer compared to the newer ear hook that we use. And then if we go back here, you will see that the new miniBTE ear hook is also more transparent. And as you can see, the damper is actually found here. And the damper, basically, the reason why they're there is to make the sound smoother, better quality. And also, yeah. So yeah, basically it's there to smoothen the acoustic response coming out from the BTE. One important thing you should know is if you select 105 fitting level, you can actually use it with the ear hook that doesn't have a damper. So that is possible. But if you choose 85 as the main fitting level, it always has to be the ear hook with the damper. So I'll be repeating that later on because it's very important. The Philips HearLink 50 miniBTE R, as I have mentioned before, it is compatible with the existing mini-fit thin tubes. So these are the options which are available with the thin tubes. You have the open base dome, you have the base dome double vent, the power dome, the grip tip, small and large, with or without the vents. And you also have the micromold and the light tip available in different materials like acrylic or the more body temperature sensitive autotherm, if you have that available in your lab. And of course, you can also have an ear mold made alongside the thin tube. Well, with the exception of the microshell or a power mold. You cannot do that with a mini-fit thin tube. So that's the only exception. And then talking about the double push button, as I mentioned before, instead of one, we now have a double push button, and it's really easier for the client to turn the hearing aid on and off and to change a program and volume, and also to handle hands-free phone calls. And of course, if you are fitting a client who only has a hearing loss in one ear and who is only wearing one hearing aid, then this is really an important feature to have. And when it comes to the lithium-ion battery, it is size 13, and it's completely sealed and integrated and soldered inside the hearing aid, so you cannot change it in the clinic. But the great advantage of that is it's actually protected against moisture, sweat, and dirt. So there's pros and cons to everything, but we do expect that you won't even need to replace it throughout the whole lifetime of the hearing aid. So that's around 5 years. So it's designed to last at least 5 years for the whole day. So this issue about changing the battery, probably if you have been selling rechargeable HearLink 30 instruments or HearLink 40, maybe after 2 to 3 years, you actually, if you want to make sure the user gets a full day of battery without having to recharge it in that day, then you might need to change it with a new battery. But for the HearLink 50, it is much more longer lasting. So that's definitely one thing. And yeah, another difference here is that charging is definitely quicker compared to before, thanks to this new technology we call contact charging. So just by charging it for in 1 hour, you get a full day of power. And if you're in a rush, you just charge it for 15 minutes and you get an additional 4 hours of use. And of course, as everybody probably already knows, battery life can vary depending on how the hearing aids are used. Mostly, the main culprit, I would say, is definitely streaming. Streaming really causes the most drain out of your battery. So if you have users who are always listening, connected to their phones, just tell them that the battery life, well, I like to say 20 hours plus minus, but if they're streaming, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 hours, then we can expect it to be shorter, maybe 15 hours or 16 hours. So you can tell this to your client. And with HearLink 50, as I mentioned before, Philips introduced this new charging technology. And basically, we are moving away from inductive charging to the newer contact charging. And why did we change? So let me explain. So rechargeable batteries, normally they lose capacity over time. And that includes, the lithium-ion batteries in our handphone, the lithium-ion batteries in our gadgets and our tablets. Over time, you have to charge them after a few hours of use, and hearing aids are no exception. So as these devices and batteries age, some users might actually start hearing the low battery warnings at the end of the day. And to help with this, Philips actually uses this new constant capacity charging technology. So this is patented. That means that it's only available in demand hearing aids, including Philips. And basically, this charging technology reserves part of the battery's initial capacity so it can deliver a more stable performance throughout the whole life of the hearing aid. And we expect that to be around 5 years. So the big benefit to that is basically users get a more consistent battery performance day after day, even when they've been using the hearing aids for 3, 4, or 5 years. And this is one way that we try to offset or compensate for the normal battery wear that inevitably happens over time. And here's the difference between traditional charging and constant capacity charging. So on the x-axis, you can see the operational life. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. That's the life of the hearing aid. And on the y-axis, you can see the daily runtime. How long does the hearing aid last every day in terms of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 hours? So with traditional charging, the battery starts pretty strong at around more than even 30 hours, and that means longer life at first. But as you can see over time, the capacity drops pretty quickly. So that means your client might hear low battery warnings before the end of the day, and eventually need a battery replacement if they want to keep on using the device for the full day without having to recharge it often. So, with constant capacity charging, since part of the initial capacity is actually reserve, this helps the battery deliver stable performance for the entire lifetime of the hearing aid. So your clients shouldn't notice a big drop in terms of the battery life or need a replacement. It says here 7 years, but if we're trying to be more conservative, guys, let's just say 5 years before it starts dropping. And before we actually launched this technology, we made sure that we tested it extensively. We did millions of hours of accumulated test time and used up over 600 batteries under a certain temperature range. So, equivalent to around 5 years of use. So, you can definitely be confident that this battery technology is proven and reliable. And HearLink 15 miniBTE users can choose, same as a mini, right? They can choose between a desk charger or the more portable Charger Plus. And both of them use this contact charging technology. And as you can see here, the charging times can definitely vary depending on the battery level. If it's 0%, so from zero to like literal 0 to 100%, of course, you need the full 2 hours, but maybe if the hearing aids still have 30%, definitely it's less than 2 hours. So as you can see here, 2 hours would definitely give you the full charge of around 20 hours. And this is, again, we're trying to be really conservative with our numbers here. I wouldn't be surprised if this actually lasts for 24 hours. But, if a user asks me how long does the battery last, I just say 20 hours plus minus. So this really depends. But as you can see, 1 hour of charging provides around 16 hours, which is usually for a full day. 30 minutes of charging provides 8 hours, and 15 minutes of charging provides 4 hours life. So you can definitely see, compared to how we did charging with HearLink 30 and 40, HearLink 50 has faster charging, and the process is basically, I would say maybe the first hour, the charging is pretty fast, but then this charging speed actually lowers within the next hour. And this is done to make sure that it protects the battery. It's the same as if you have a hybrid or an electric car. It's how you start off with fast charging, and then slowly it charges slower when it reaches closer to 100%, so that the batteries are actually not overcharged. And one important thing that applies to all lithium-ion batteries is that they are very temperature sensitive. That means that there is a chance they wouldn't work as designed when it's like 0-degree weather, or it's really hot, or it's really cold. The ideal temperature for charging the devices is actually between 15 degrees centigrade and 35 degrees centigrade. So maybe if I have this Charger Plus, I bring it outside and it's -5 degrees, then there's a chance that the battery might charge really slow, or it might not even charge. So you just tell your user it's ideal to use this inside, room temperature. Okay. Yes, so I can see some questions there, but I will be more than happy to answer them later, okay? After we're done with the miniBTE. Yeah. And then here you can see in the slide, this is the Charger Plus. So there are probably two things you should be aware of, and these are basically LED patterns that you don't want to see. The first one is if you see all three LED blinking orange. So that means it's a system error, and that means that the charger needs to be sent in for repair. There's something wrong with the charger if it keeps on blinking 3 LEDs. But in this example, you can see that this is just 2 blinks. So we have the left and the right LED, which is blinking orange. And basically that means that the hearing aid or the charger's temperature is too cold or too warm. So in that case, move the charger and hearing aids to a location where the temperature is more between 5 to 40 degrees. So somewhere between that. The closer to the center, the better. Or the closer to room temperature, the better. And of course, since lithium-ion batteries are actually classified as dangerous goods, that means that they can actually pose a safety risk if they are not handled properly, especially when you're flying in a plane. I actually saw on a TikTok video, not that I have TikTok, guys, I don't have one, but the power bank started catching fire. And the good news was it was in the carry-on luggage of the passenger. So in this case, since the Charger Plus also has a power bank, always tell your user to bring it with them in their carry-on. You know, I made this mistake. I left it in my check-in luggage. And what happened was they called my name so I can actually take it out myself. So lesson learned, don't forget your laptop, tablets, Charger Plus, your phones in your check-in luggage. Always keep it with you in your hand carry. And of course, here you would see that when it comes to taking care of the chargers, it's all in the IFU, but I would just like to point out important things here. Of course, it's really important to keep the charger dry and clean, and I know that's really obvious, but for some clients, they don't really wipe or even clean it maybe every month. And that means that all the dirt that accumulates inside the slots, that could actually cause issues down the line. Also, if you're using cotton buds, water, or cleaning fluids and putting it there, that's not a good thing. Just use a dry cloth. That's all it needs to keep it and maintain it. And a dirty charger means that it could cause issues for the hearing aids also. So it's a good habit to remember to keep it clean with a dry cloth. And as I mentioned before, the optimal charging conditions is ideally between 15 to 35 degrees centigrade. And since lithium ion batteries are really sensitive to temperature and, you know, it degrades when it's exposed to extreme temperature, that's why you should keep in mind that if it's close to a heater or it's close to an air conditioning unit, it might not actually function optimally. And of course, if you want to power it, make sure that the device providing the power, like a laptop, is USB 2.0 compliant with at least 500 milliamperes of output. And you would know anyway if it's not enough because the LED of the charger will not light up. And most importantly, the first time that you use this Charger Plus, please don't forget to fully charge it. That really actually that applies for all lithium powered devices, because this is really good for the battery's health to do best practices. And of course, you guys probably also already know this. If the hearing aids are not going to be fitted right away, let's say you receive the Charger Plus or the rechargeable miniBTE or miniRite from stock. It's always good, and ideally the logistics should actually handle this, that the moment they get these rechargeable devices from, I don't know, from a shipment, it's better to just charge it, take it out of the package, charge it to 100%, and then for hearing aids, activate the battery protection mode, because you might not be able to predict when you can sell the product. So in the meantime, if it's not under battery protection mode, it might slowly go down, and you don't want the power to go down too low because otherwise you might not be able to wake it up again. The battery might be permanently damaged. So this is more for logistics. But as an HCP in the clinic, if you are also not planning to use a rechargeable hearing aid for 1 to 2 weeks, it's just good to charge it and then go to Hear Suite and then activate battery protection mode if you're not expecting to use it for a long time. So in case for those who never did it, it's definitely a different kind of mindset, because if you're so used to using hearing aids with zinc air battery, you almost don't do anything with these rechargeable devices. But if you really want to do best practices, just activate this battery protection mode by going to Tools, click on Set to Battery Protection Mode, and then click on Save. And then once it's in battery protection mode, you can only wake it up if you put it in the charger and take it out. So this is good. And also, if you're sending the devices for repair, you can also activate the battery protection mode. And I'm not sure if everyone has received the newsletters, but we do send them periodically every few months. And the recent one also, I also uploaded this FAQ, which includes so much useful information on how to take care of all Philips rechargeable hearing aids. So if you haven't received that, maybe you can type right now in the chat. And in order to make sure that you receive news from our newsletter, then make sure that you write to burn export news at demand.com. And then you put in your name, your role, your company, and the country where you're from. I'm not actually from Finland, guys. It's just I Googled and apparently Santa Claus lives there. So I just thought that was very interesting. Okay, let's move forward. So another really great thing is, of course, the chip. Yeah, of course, that's a given. And as you already know, with the HearLink 50 Mini, right? The HearLink 50 miniBTE also have the same technology, which is SoundMap 3. And this is, of course, where you will find the core signal processing in HearLink 50, including the directionality system, the AI noise reduction, the compression, feedback management, and of course, the sound guide motion detectors. So all of that is in here. And this is, since our chip is basically brand new with the HearLink 50 family, that also a better chip usually means better connectivity. That's why all of the connectivity, the new connectivity features we have is all thanks to the new chip. And here, I think the most important thing, because we want to explain our technology in a way which is easy to understand, especially when you talk to your clients, you can confidently say and tell them that SoundMap 3 is all about using powerful technology that prioritizes speech no matter where they are. And instead of saying, oh, you have Sound Protect, AI noise reduction, or advanced directionality, these people don't really know all of these new features, but you can just give them the confidence that with SoundMap 3, all of these powerful features are there to really let them focus to hear clean, wonderful, clear speech in noisy environments. And the sound guide, of course, is a feature that allows to tailor the sound based on the client's movement. So before this, hearing aids made decisions based only on sound input. But now with HearLink 50, we also take into account the client's activity. So for example, if you can tell the client that if they're walking down a noisy street or sitting with a loved one over coffee or chatting with friends in a restaurant, this means that with Sound Guide, speech and other important sounds stay clear. Wherever they go, however they move, we have this feature to help them in those situations. And of course, HearLink 50 miniBTE makes staying connected easier than ever before, because this HearLink 50 family actually supports Bluetooth LE audio for compatible Android devices and PCs. And this allows basically way better sound quality than what you get from Asha streaming. And it also allows two-way streaming for compatible Android phones. So that means they can enjoy conversations, music, TV shows, movies from their favorite devices. And this is actually new, Google Fast Pair. So you get basically effortless pairing with compatible Android devices. And I'm going to explain that a bit more later. And HearLink 50 also supports Auracast. So you can actually use native controls on compatible Android devices or the Philips HearLink 2 app. And basically, this allows the user to listen to public broadcasts, which are Auracast compatible, as long as they're available. So when you talk to your clients, you can just say streaming audio and taking hands-free calls is basically easier because we have the latest Bluetooth technology in Philips HearLink. And that applies generally for a lot of newer Android phones, Samsung, Google Pixel, what else? Google Pixel, Samsung, HTC. Yeah, the newer ones usually have the LE Bluetooth LE audio. And basically, this is how the Google Fast Pair works. I've had a chance to try it myself. I don't have a Google phone, but basically, this is how it works. I put the hearing aids in pairing mode, so I put them in the charger, wait a few seconds, and then I take it out. Then I wait around 10 seconds. After the hearing aids are in pairing mode, I place them close to the Android devices, within 15 centimeters. And then tap connect to establish a Bluetooth connection. So after I put the hearing aids close to the phone, I usually have to wait, I would say maybe 30 to 50 seconds. And this pop out shows up. And all you need to actually do is click one button and it's all connected. So this Fast Pair, this Google Fast Pair, obviously is available for Google Pixel, but I think it will be also soon. They're working on Samsung having this feature too. And that really helps with, the average user who just want the pairing process to be as simple as possible. And of course, you will see a notification once it's paired. So here, you can see that it's now connected. So hopefully that's the future for Android phones, especially the newer ones, that this pairing process, you don't need to go to settings and then click on different buttons just to have it paired. All you need to do is put the hearing aids in pairing mode, put it close to the Android phone, and it's automatically connected. And then for the Auracast, I understand this is really a new technology, but you only need to understand the basics. So Auracast broadcast audio is basically, it's like a telecoil system, but instead of an installed telecoil loop, you just need three ingredients for Auracast to work. The first thing you need is a transmitter, an Auracast transmitter, and basically it can be literally anything. It can be a smartphone or a tablet or a TV, or I don't know, a public sound system, as long as they are Auracast, compatible. And I'm sure more and more companies will come out with this, and they can transmit the sound signal. And then the second ingredient you need is basically to have an Auracast assistant. So this is literally any Bluetooth device, such as a smartphone or a smartwatch that can scan and let the client select an Auracast signal. So for example, if the transmitter sends three different signals, maybe one for the sound from a movie. The second one is an announcement, public announcement. The third one is, sound from a sports station. The Auracast assistant is basically there to select which of these three sound signals they want. And then that's when the sound will reach the Auracast receiver. which is basically any headphones, any earbuds, any hearing aids that are Auracast compatible and play the audio. So it's basically, yeah, it's basically like Wi-Fi, you know? You use your phone to look at all the available Wi-Fi signals, you select that Wi-Fi signal, and then you're connected. So it's the same, but in this sense, it's more sound signals. And yeah, right now, the HearLink 50 family are Auracast compatible. Just make sure that if you already sold a HearLink 50 mini right before to your customer, you need to update it to the firmware 1.3 in order to activate this Auracast feature. Yeah. So this is actually the best part of this whole thing, which is the speaker. So how does it work? Because I said that you can have two fitting levels in one device, but why is there only one speaker? So basically the speaker is a 105 speaker. But the innovation here is you can program the speaker to behave like an 85 or a 105. So you can just change it in the software. And the reason why, it's a new thing, why did other hearing aid manufacturers, why didn't they think of this? It's because the sound quality is actually a bit different and it's hard to actually manage that. But we did. And also the sound, the output, it meets regulatory standards and has been tested for stability. So we are finally able to release this new product with this new innovation. And yeah, so the speaker also has a very low noise floor. So even if you select 85 and program the speaker to behave like an 85 fitting level, it's well within its limits. It's reliable. The sound quality sounds like as if it was an 85 speaker. So this definitely works. And of course, just so you know a bit more about this, I'm going to play a video now where a product specialist and experts from headquarters explain how the speaker works. So you feel more confident about, if you're into this geeky details, then this is actually really perfect for you. Okay, so I hope that helped. For those who want more details, it's definitely you can be confident that no matter what fitting level you select, it should behave accordingly. And when it comes to the fitting level, you can see here that if you select 85 in the software, you would get this much fitting range up to around 90. 105 would give up to 100, plus minus, of course. And if you select thin tube, even if it's 85 or 105 fitting level, this is the power range. So it actually doesn't matter. This is still the power range because it's limited by the physical acoustical features of the mini fit thin tube. So I would say it's somewhere in between an 85 and 105 ear hook kind of fitting range. So that's for 90/50. And for 70/50, 5/50, and 30/50, you can see that, of course, it's more limited to 8,000. So in terms of sound quality, in terms of listening to music, it might be just a bit less natural. Of course, you might have noticed something really interesting. So if I go back, you would see that the lower range here is 0. So it's basically, the lower end of the fitting range for both 85 and 105 is 0. And some people have actually asked me, so that means the internal noise is the same, right? No matter whether you choose 85 or 105. So why do I need to even pick an 85 fitting level? Why not just use 105 for everyone? Because the noise floor is just as good for both. So the sound quality shouldn't be so bad. So why do I need to even choose 85? So there are actually 3 reasons. So if your client's audiogram falls within the 85 fitting range, the best recommendation is still to choose an 85 fitting level. The reason why is because there's actually 3 benefits. You have the lower risk of amplification. Choosing an 85 will also give your user better access to high frequencies, and there is a slightly lower risk of distortion. So let's start with the first one, which is reducing the risk of overamplification. So the 105 fitting level is actually more powerful than the 85, and obviously it can deliver a higher output. So for example, with a 90 dB SPL input, the 85 level with a damped ear hook will give around 133 dB SPL. But if you choose 105, this 133 dB SPL jumps to 138 dB SPL. So the fitting software also calculates a higher maximum power output when you select 100 compared to 85. Even if it's the same hearing loss, the same audiogram, the MPO is actually higher if you select 105. And that extra power is really great if you need it, but it also means that there's actually a risk of over amplifying the users with milder hearing loss, especially if they adjust the volume all the time. And the second benefit to choosing 85 fitting level is actually the frequency response. So with the 85 level, you get a broader frequency range, especially in the high frequencies. So for example, the HearLink 9050 miniBTE at 85 covers 100 to 9,400 hertz. But with the 105, you can see that it's able to only reach 7,000 hertz. So that's one thing. The frequency range is much more wider if you select 85, and it has something to do with the physical capability of this speaker. And then another good thing with choosing an 85 is it also gives a smoother frequency response. So that translates to a better sound quality overall. So yeah, this is basically a better option if you want your clients to have better access to high frequency details. And the final benefit of choosing 85 is you have a slightly better or lower risk of distortion. So the total harmonic distortion at 500 hertz for 85 is less than 2, and for 105 it's less than 4. So that's also one thing to consider. And of course, if you transfer these benefits to the actual fitting software in the clinic, if we look at an example in Philips HearSuite, you can see that the audiogram shows a hearing loss, which is identical for both ears. So you have a normal hearing in the low frequencies and sloping to a moderately severe hearing loss in the high frequencies. So it's the same for the right and the left. So what we will do here is we will fit one side with an 85 fitting level and the other with 105. So you can see here that it's so easy by selecting the fitting level is so easy. You just click on that button. If you want the hearing aids to give more output, then just click on that button, and then you can easily change it to a different fitting level. So on the right, you have 85. On the left, I chose 105. Same hearing loss. Note that the acoustics are also identical. So damped ear hook, 2 mm tube with an open fitting ear mold. Here you can see the default settings in Philips HearSuite. So the adaptation is actually 100. Remember, I chose 85 here and then 105 on the left. So if we look at the response curves alone, you will see that the gain prescribed for 85 is smoother and less peaky compared to the 105. And another observation, actually, is that the MPO, or the maximum power output, in many of the frequencies is actually higher. for the 105 fitting level compared to the 85. So for example, if you look at 250 and 500, so you have 90 and 97, and you compare that here, it's 85 and 92, it's around 5 dB. The MPO is around 5 dB higher for the left ear compared to the right. So in that sense, again, there is a risk of overamplification if you select 105, especially if your client has a more mild hearing loss. So let's meet Maggie. Now let's try to see it in an actual case. So Maggie is a 67-year-old female, very talkative, very nice and friendly. She has a history of a surgery on her right ear done when she was in her 30s to remove a tumor, cholesteatoma, and she has been monitored by her doctor ever since. So she sees her doctor regularly for ear cleaning and is currently wearing a hearing aid on her right ear where she had the cholesteatoma. Recently, she noticed her hearing has declined. Book club and hearing the people there is harder, and it's really a struggle hearing her grandchildren and having video calls with them. So Maggie is actually worried about her hearing getting worse, and she just wants a solution that can catch up if her hearing changes again. So the test results indicate a sensory neural hearing loss in the left ear and a mixed hearing loss in the right ear. The speech discrimination tests, actually, they were pretty good, really good scores. The tympanometry results showed a type A tympanogram and on the left ear and a type B tympanogram on the right ear. So far, so good. In comparison to Maggie's previous hearing test, her hearing test now in both her ears has actually declined. So yeah, what's the best option for Maggie? So with the HearLink 50 miniBTE R, I think this is really one of the better solutions because this device clearly offers two fitting levels in one. We have 85, we have 105. Right now, her hearing loss, around 40 average, 40 to 50, and 60 to 70 average. This can still be fitted with, I would say, an 85, yeah? Of course, you would have to see how she feels about that. This is a mixed hearing loss, so her cochlear function is still pretty good. Her speech discrimination is still pretty good, so we can start at 85 for both ears. She has a progressive hearing loss, so maybe if Maggie comes back in 2-3 years and then suddenly her left and her right especially are lower, you can simply change the fitting level to 105. And I think that's amazing. I would definitely do that if I was still working in the clinic. So instead of worrying about changing or buying a new hearing aid, she can keep the same style, the same hearing aid, the same charger, the same hearing aid family, and it's also asymmetric. So again, you can just use the same style because you can it is good enough for her changing needs. Yeah, so this is definitely one of the best things that they can do. And of course, if she's often streaming, we also have the new SoundHi 4 to help with that. Okay, that's really good. Now I'll just go through what's new with the 25.2 version for Philips Hear Suite. So these are the new features that we have, including support, obviously, for the new HearLink 50 miniBTE R. And if you have users who are already wearing the HearLink 50 Mini Right, and you haven't updated the firmware yet, I encourage that the next time you see them, you will probably get reminded anyway to update the hearing aid. But if you update it to the latest version 1.3.0, then their HearLink 50 Mini Rights will be Auracast compatible. They can do Google Fast Pair. If they are using 3050, so that's the lowest technology level, they can also have access to tap control. Previously, that wasn't the case. And also, if they're experiencing connectivity issues, updating the HearLink 50 mini right to 1.3 will also give them better connectivity and performance improvements. So something you should know of. And in HearSuite 25.2, we also have the Auracast options. So you can customize the sound. You can do all of these things related to Auracast in the software. There's also Philips My Business integration, which is more for selected markets. And we also have the new HearSuite Resource Center. So I'll show you that later on. So this is what it looks like. As I showed you before, you can switch between an 85 and 105 fitting level without changing the actual devices by just clicking here to select the fitting level. So it's all basically just software. If you choose an 85, the ear hook is always damped. There's no undamped version. And if you change the damped ear hook for an 85 fitting level to an undamped, this will actually negatively affect the output and also the acoustics. If I change, let's say, the fitting level to 105, it is possible to use damped and undamped ear hooks. But I would really recommend that in general, the sound and the sound output is just better with a damped ear hook. So you should only select undamped and change the ear hook to undamped in case you really, really need the gain. Otherwise, don't. So this is what it would look like. You can easily change the fitting level here. And then what else? So if you go under feature selection and you click on accessories, normally, of course, you would have the smartphone, TV adapter, and the audio clip where you can adjust the sound, right? So this time, if you have the newest version of HearSuite, under the smartphone tab, you can also adjust the sound level of Auracast. So maybe you want the Auracast signal to be louder, 3 dB louder, 9 dB louder. Of course, this also applies for streamed media and phone calls, not just Auracast signals, but it's all found here. So you're actually adjusting all of these, the phone and Auracast level. And you can all, of course, make the microphone here, the hearing aid microphone softer in comparison to the Auracast signal. So maybe you can make it softer by 6 or 9 dB. This really helps improve the signal to noise ratio. So that's really one tip, which has helped me a lot with clients who are not happy with phone calls, for example. The moment I switch to a more quiet the moment I switch the microphone to a more quiet setting by choosing a more attenuation, they suddenly say, "Oh my God, I can hear everything. I can hear the person I'm talking to on the phone." So this is definitely one thing you should take advantage of when you're in the software and your client is complaining they cannot hear the stream signal. All right. So this is another new thing I want to show you. So if you can see my pointer right here, there is a word, a grayed out word. It's called order. And basically, this is a feature that would allow you to access a tool. It's called Philips My Business. And this tool basically allows clinics to order hearing aids from the HearSuite software. So it's more convenient. But take note that this is actually not available for all export markets. So you would need to ask your manager, or you would need to ask Tom, who's your sales director, if you have this feature. If not, then you don't have to worry. It's fine. You can just, if you want to take this word out, you can just go to tools, or upper right screen. So let me see. Yeah. So click on the settings icon. Where's here? If you click on the settings icon, you would see, you can just click on preferences, and then under preferences, you would see Philips My Business and turn this off. This is more available for the bigger countries. So because, if they have 15, 20, 30 different hearing aid chains, then it's a bit more convenient to order right from the software, and they have a CRM system to adjust all of this.
Hi, Marielle.
Okay.
This is Tom. Can you hear me?
So after you turn that off, then you won't see the word order anymore. And the final new thing with the HearSuite Resource Center, which actually applies to every one of you guys, is this extra tool. So if I click on Help and then I click on Resource Center, it is basically a very convenient and accessible way of having all of the training and marketing materials in one place. So if you click on the Resource Center right here, then it would lead you to this page. You can see here that English Master, it depends actually on the language setting of your HearSuite software. If the language setting is Spanish, then it will automatically show you all of the resources in Spanish. But since not all materials are translated, I would recommend that you actually go to language and you select English Master to make sure you don't miss any resource. So you will see here instructional videos, overviews, technical data sheets, brochures, IFUs, the whole thing, all in one place by going to the Resource Center. That's good news for you guys. Oh, and maybe you can also, of course, filter it by maybe if you just want to look at, let's say, instructional videos, you can click on videos. And if you just want PDFs, you can click on that. And you can also filter them by the type of material, what kind of HearLink family, BTE or custom instruments, etc. But I would recommend that you try to filter it only by language, because otherwise you might miss certain documents if you use too many filters. So try to use only 1 or 2 filters at a time to make sure you don't miss any of these assets. And when you install the latest version of 25.2, probably you would also see this gray pop out that says support for HiPro Classic and HiPro USB will be discontinued in an upcoming version. So probably next year, if you're using any of these older programming interfaces, you will have problems. So we're now warning you, switch to a newer HiPro, like HiPro 2 or NoaLink Wireless. So this is just a warning. And what's new with the HearLink 2 app? So actually the newest version is 1.6.1. But I would say that the newest thing to that is the interface, so the design of how to select different programs in the hearing aid. It also allows the HearLink 2 app to support Auracast and allow the user to see more settings under tap control. I think before that option was named answer calls faster. Now it's called tap control, so it's less confusing. And basically, this is what it looks like now. You can see, the user can see all of the different programs that you have programmed for him or her. Classroom T, hi-fi music, so it's a bit more intuitive because, it's not out of sight, out of mind, so that's a good thing. And for the Auracast support, basically, if you click on the 3 buttons here, it will show these options. And this is the newest option. It's called Auracast Broadcast. And remember that metaphor I used, like a Wi-Fi signal? This is where you would see all of the broadcast available from Auracast. So this is just an example. At the same time, you can also scan a QR code if you want to listen to that particular broadcast. And this is what happens when you click on the scan QR code. And then once you are connected to the broadcast, it would look like this. And you can adjust the volume of the broadcasted sound. You can also disconnect from the sound from Auracast. And you can adjust the quality of the Auracast broadcast. So you can also change it via streaming equalizer to make it more high pitch or low pitch. So that's a good part. let's move forward. Thank you so much for your question, guys. So let's now talk about the new Philips DemoFlex. And basically, this is just an easy way to demonstrate different hearing aid technology levels to a client. And this allows them to try the different sounds before they actually buy the instruments. And you only need one device to do that. So what is DemoFlex? Basically, it's a dedicated device for demonstration purposes. And it's it's a hearing aid designed for trial. You can use Philips HearSuite to change and configure the DemoFlex hearing aid to different technology levels. And you can also change the trial period length depending on what the user needs or the protocol in your clinic. And DemoFlex can be a really great way to try different technology levels and to help the user make a better decision on which level is the best for them. So it can be used as a loaner device or a demo device. It depends. So maybe if they need to have their hearing aids repaired or serviced, you can also use a DemoFlex for that. So it is delivered in the highest technology level, meaning the default is 90/50, and the default trial period is actually 6 weeks. I know that might be long for some of you guys. Maybe you let the user try it for 1 or 2 weeks. So that means that you will have to change it from 6 to whatever amount of weeks that you actually do a trial for. And the DemoFlex hearing aid is also designed to be reused up to 50 times before it is taken out of service. So the DemoFlex is currently available only for the HearLink 50 family, and it's available in 2 styles that you see there, which is miniRite and miniBTE R, and in 1 color, which is beige. And the DemoFlex can be used during a hearing aid trial period to try different technologies, as I said before. So what happens is the user would be fit with a DemoFlex hearing aid at the desired technology level. Make sure you have the relevant speaker unit, the hook and the ear mold or the dome, or the mini fit-in tube. And also you would have to provide a charger, of course. So after the trial period, the DemoFlex hearing aid should actually be returned to the clinic and cleaned per instructions. And if the user is happy with the trial period and decides to buy the hearing aids, then the settings that you used to program in the DemoFlex can be transferred to the new hearing aids. So for miniRite styles, we recommend that you use the same speaker units that you tried during the trial to the new hearing aids. So you use the trial speaker units and transfer that to the new hearing aids. And they can also use the same charger that they used during the trial period. So that's the ideal scenario. And then for the miniBTE R DemoFlex devices, if you are using the whatever hook and or ear mold or mini fit-in tube that you used for the DemoFlex, you can transfer that again to the new hearing aid. And the user can, of course, keep the charger from the trial period. And in order to use DemoFlex, of course, make sure that your laptop is actually connected to an internet connection, because how DemoFlex changes the technology level, it's very similar to doing a firmware update. And this is what it looks like. So during the initial detection, let's say you have a pair of DemoFlex instruments detected. So the word demo will appear as well as this banner right here, indicating that the current technology level of the DemoFlex is 90/50. And you can also access the DemoFlex tool by clicking on this word, or you can also go here. This is also one way that you can access the DemoFlex tool. And the technology level can be easily changed in HearSuite. So this is actually the main DemoFlex window, this whole thing. And the current technology level in the hearing aids is shown, as you can see here in the orange box. And you can also switch it to 70/50 all the way to 30/50. So what can be transferred to a new technology level? Of course, all settings with the same values in both the source and the target technologies will be transferred. But since we're talking about 9050, so there will obviously be features which might not be available for 3050, then those will not be transferred. Also, feedback measurements, in situ audiometry results, all of the features here that is not found here will not be transferred. So also be aware of that. Yeah, that's something you need to be aware of. So this is what happens if you are in the process of changing the technology level. So let's say your client tried 9050, he wants to try out maybe 7050 or 5050. So in this case, they can choose the different technology level. The first step is getting ready. And basically, it would look like this. Choose what's the new technology level you want the client to try. You should remove the hearing aids from the client's ears. And once you select it from the drop-down menu, just click on Update. And then when you go to the next step, the hearing aids, like a firmware update, should not be disconnected while it's in the process of updating. And this update process will take around, I would say, 3 to 4 minutes. If you're using NoLink Wireless 2, that's going to be the case. If you're using something older, it's going to be slower. So that is the update process. Here it says around 4 minutes. Yeah, 4 seconds. So this is the new technology level that we want. And then if we click again, this is the final step, the finish. The hearing aids now have the new HearLink 5050 technology level loaded. And then all you need to do once it's updated successfully, click on continue and then reconnect the hearing aids in HearSuite. And then you will be prompted to transfer the settings or start a new fitting. If you want to keep the settings, of course, the recommendation is to choose transfer settings. All right. So this is what it looks like. There you go. I reconnected it now, and then I just click on continue. And I will use the transfer settings right there. So you can edit the length of the trial period. As I mentioned before, 6 weeks is actually the default, but you can also select to do the trial in 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So and 8 weeks if you want it longer. So when the trial period ends, the hearing aids will just mute, no amplification. No matter what the client tries to do, it's going to be no sound, even if they want to use it. So that is what's going to happen. And if you want to change the trial period time, just click. Let's say I just want 1 week. So I click on that. There we go. Maybe 8. Yeah, 8 weeks. So the new trial period is set and the time remaining is also reset. And in case you're curious, how do we actually count the trial duration? Basically, it's counted in terms of time. So for example, if a trial period of 4 weeks is selected in the fitting software, after 4 weeks, the hearing aid will be muted and provide no amplification. So regardless of how much the hearing aids are used or switched on or worn during the trial, literally after 4 weeks, it would just stop. So they have to come back to you to actually, go further with the fitting process. So here you can see trial period is set to 8 weeks, time remaining 8 weeks. And of course, when changing the DemoFlex technology level, let's say from a HearLink 3050 to a higher level, then there would be a pop-up window asking whether or not you want to transfer the session data. So in this example, since HearLink, let me just see. Yeah, since HearLink doesn't really have, let me just go. HearLink 3050 does not really have dynamic directionality, right? So you actually need to enable it. So let's say I change from 3050 to 9050. I have to select it to dynamic directionality because this feature was not available from 3050. So make sure you actually go to directionality and change that manually. Otherwise, you will not get other features like sound guide. So this is something you have to be aware of when you're changing from a lower technology level to a higher one, that some settings might not be optimal. So you have to do this yourself. There we go. Yeah, also make sure that this is on, because if you use PINA or fixed directional or adaptive directional, this will not show up. Sound guide is only available if you choose dynamic directionality. And each DemoFlex hearing aid actually has a built-in counter. So this counter is set to 50 and corresponds to the number of new clients that can be fitted with a DemoFlex. So the counter will start counting when a new user is fitted. And then, an alert is actually presented once you reach your 50th client to let you know it is the final client who can be fitted with this DemoFlex device. And then you also get another alert when you have the 51st client, and it will tell you basically that you cannot use a device anymore. It has reached its limit. It cannot be used. So once a DemoFlex hearing aid has reached 50 counts, it should no longer be used, and you can return it or deal with it as agreed with your sales manager. And some people also actually ask, like, why is it only 50 counts? Why only 50 clients? So the counter was actually set to 50 clients based on a test as to how many times a speaker unit can be changed before the hearing aid is no longer performing optimally. So the impact of cleaning and using and changing the speaker between different clients has been factored in, and we want to make sure that the sound quality and the hearing aid are still working well. So that's why we decided on 50, because if you're doing a demo, you also want to make sure that you're using a good quality device. So this should actually easily last you, assuming that you do a trial maybe once every week, or it's not every day you do it. This DemoFlex will last you easily 3-4 years, on and off. So this shouldn't be a problem. So here you can see at the 50th client, an alert will pop up warning you that the instruments will reach their use limit. So the devices can be used for follow-up visits with the client, but it cannot be used to fit other clients. And once you reach the 51st client, you will get this alert stating that the device has reached its use limit and the DemoFlex cannot be used anymore. So let's just take a quick sample workflow using the DemoFlex. So the DemoFlex in the clinic could work like this. So the first thing is the user decides on the HearLink 50 family, but is unsure maybe which technology level is best for them. So they are fit with DemoFlex hearing aids. Okay, so in this case, you can see that the different technology levels can be tried during the trial. And then the settings can be transferred to the purchased hearing aids after they're happy with that. So the user comes back before the end of the trial period and the DemoFlex hearing aids are reprogrammed to a HearLink 50. So the trial period is reset to 4 weeks. And then when they come back, they maybe decide to get a 9050, so the settings are saved in HearSuite and are transferred to the purchased HearLink 9050. So if we look here, then the speaker units used during the trial are actually installed on the purchased hearing aid, and the charger used during the trial can also be reused and transferred to the user. So if the user decides not to purchase the hearing aids after the trial and to return the DemoFlex hearing aids, then make sure that they need to be cleaned before they are reused. Our official recommendation is that the speaker unit should be discarded and the charger should be returned as per policy. So that's roughly the flow. And then, of course, this is just a guide. So I will be sending you a lot of stuff after we're done here. And that includes how to clean the DemoFlex devices and to disinfect it appropriately between clients. So this is a rough guide of how you can do that. So yeah, this is just a summary of what we discussed. Overall, with DemoFlex, you can have a product that allows configuration to different technology levels depending on the discussions between you and whatever your protocol is in the clinic. And there are various trial periods for flexibility to suit both your clinic and the client, and you can reuse it for 50 times. And here is the white paper that we have. This is quick reference guide for the new product, miniBTE, product portfolio overview, and you have the IFU technical data sheets. And this is the guide on how to clean it after a client returns the hearing aid back to you. So that ends the webinar. Thank you.